Welcome, brave souls, to Fearfile Chronicles, your one-way ticket to spine-chilling stories and terrifying tales. Tonight, we'll be diving into the darkest corners of the human mind with the story, Hallowed Ground Part 4. Penned by the twisted mind of the Vespers Bell. Together, we'll explore the unexplained and face our deepest fears. But before we begin, if you enjoy trembling in terror, be sure to hit that like button, share this video with your fellow fear fanatics, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click the bell notification so you never miss an eerie episode. Your support truly means the world to us. So feel free to leave a comment below to join the Fearfile Chronicles community. Now, without further ado, let's unravel the mysteries of the unknown together. As we delve into tonight's fear-inducing story, Hallowed Ground, Part 4. Dim the lights and prepare yourself for a chilling journey into the Fearfile Chronicles. The following months unfolded without significant incident. I acquired a camper trailer, established my home in the cemetery, and experienced no unsettling brushes with the supernatural. In the mausoleum, I perused every book, diligently recording observations in my personal book of shadows, assuming the role of a bona fide witch. My dreams, my soul portal into the astral plane, were also chronicled there. By the tail end of March, I had failed to achieve astral projection, and a sense of apprehension was creeping in. If by May Day I couldn't master it, I'd have to wait until the subsequent Halloween for a chance to plea with Persephone to liberate my friend. This meant another half a year in literal hell. Despite the burden of this realization, my visit to downtown was not prompted by a desire to seek guidance from another witch in honing the craft. I was merely there to procure seeds for a garden I intended to cultivate once the climate grew warmer. However, as I was navigating Queen Street, a structure situated just off Albion Avenue captured my attention. A charming Victorian edifice. Its ground floor had been transformed into a storefront. Eve's Eden of Esoterica. Spiritual Wellness and Metaphysical Supply Center read the sign. A new age shop I had noticed in the past, but never deeply contemplated. Post-Halloween encounter, I had never imagined that commercialized mysticism could offer genuine solutions to my predicaments. Yet, as I found myself staring at the building, an undeniable premonition prickled within me. My clairvoyance suggested that something authentically paranormal resided within that shop. Even if my intuition was flawed, a look inside couldn't cause harm. I parked along the avenue and approached the entrance, where an array of flyers publicizing the shop's offerings greeted me. Crystals, candles, incense, books, divination cards, Ouija boards, spell kits, altar idols, holistic medicine, herbal teas, and a plethora of related paraphernalia. Regularly, they hosted yoga and meditation sessions, provided individualized metaphysical consultations, and once a month, organized women-led sacred sexuality seminars. Indeed, the establishment embodied virtually every New Age cliché I could conceive, and I might have chuckled had it not been for the hand-drawn logo adorning the front door. It depicted a blonde, biblical Eve, but her forbidden fruit was a pomegranate, not an apple. Her confidently smiling lips held a seed, mirroring the portrait of Persephone in the mausoleum. Yes, refashioning an old story of subjugation into a feminist portrayal of empowerment wasn't innovative, but the striking similarities to the Persephone illustration were eerie. Whoever crafted that drawing surely held some knowledge of the underworld, and I needed to converse with them. Entering the shop, an old-fashioned bell announced my arrival, and I immediately spotted what my senses had detected from the outside. A stunning young woman was seated behind the front desk, engrossed in a book. Tall and slender, her long, ashy blonde hair cascaded down her back, her intense blue eyes accentuated with smoky eyeshadow. High cheekbones, a delicate nose, and chin graced her face. Her fair skin adorned with vibrant nature inspired in pagan tattoos. She bore a striking resemblance to the E from the logo, albeit in more attire. She was clad in a dark green, hooded, crocheted vest, held closed only by a drawstring at the chest, exposing her flat stomach and a pierced navel, paired with khaki shorts. Her aura, though, was even more remarkable than her appearance. I easily sensed that she was a powerful clairvoyant like myself, far more potent than any other individual I had come across since delving into the occult. She could potentially offer me some guidance in navigating this unfamiliar arcane world I had inadvertently stumbled upon. Yet, as is characteristic of my socially anxious self, I simply stood, dumbfounded and staring at her, too petrified to utter a simple greeting. After a moment of silence, she raised her gaze from her book, and a customary retail smile quickly morphed into an expression of genuine surprise and delight.
"Hello, sister."
She beamed, standing and extending her right arm. Initially, I involuntarily recoiled from her attempt at instigating familiarity, but then understood that she could read me as effortlessly as I could her. If our shared witchery did not forge a kinship, then what could? Hello, sister, I responded, nervously accepting her handshake and deflecting my gaze as much as possible. Although she was only marginally taller, I felt wholly dwarfed by her presence. "Ah, you're Eve then, I take it."
"Genevieve, yes. Genevieve Fawn. Eve or Evie works fine, though,"
she clarified. "Wow, Genevieve Fawn. That's such a beautifully witchy name," I gushed. "I'm, Samantha. Sumner, and I do prefer Samantha in full."
"Samantha it is,"
she replied, her smile unwavering.
"It's a rare pleasure to meet another gifted woman, especially a lovely redhead like yourself. How is it that we've never crossed paths before? Are you new to Sombermory?"
"Oh, no. I've lived here all my life," I responded. "But I only recently became aware of my clairvoyance. Last Halloween, I had a pretty intense encounter with the supernatural, and since then, I've been studying it intently. I'm concerned that I've come as far as I can on my own, though, and I felt your aura from outside. I was hoping you might be able to help me hone my abilities. I'm especially interested in learning how to astral project."
"I would love to take you on as an initiate,"
she declared, her eyes gleaming.
"Do you have some time now, actually? We can go into the parlor and talk over some wine or weed if you like. I have plenty of both."
Big yes on the wine. Merlot if you have it. I always need a little social lubricant to open up to new people. I nodded, relieved that I wouldn't have to fight against my social anxiety just to talk to her. "I'll only smoke if you have a CBD dominant strain. Anything more than 15% THC tends to turn my anxiety into full-blown paranoia."
"I've got some sativa that should work for you. Please take a seat. I'll be with you in a moment."
I did as she asked, sitting in the parlor while she flipped the open sign on the door to closed. She fetched a bottle of Merlot, wine glasses, and an adorable little mini bong with a pentagram on one side and a triple moon goddess sigil on the other. She poured the wine first, and I sipped mine as she readied the bong.
"There, take a little hit off of that and tell me if it's too much for you."
Passing it to me, I nodded appreciatively as I took a small hit to test it, swirling the smoke in my mouth a bit before inhaling into my lungs, then blowing it back out. "That's perfect. Thank you," I said, taking a bigger hit before passing it back to her.
"No problem,"
she said as she took a hit herself.
"So, how about you start by telling me about this encounter you had on Halloween?"
And I did. I get pretty talkative when I have something in me to calm my nerves, so I spent more than an hour telling her everything that I'd been through since October. She sat there listening with rapt interest, rarely interrupting. I let out an exhausted sigh when I finally finished and went to drain the rest of my wine.
"Wow,"
she murmured.
"You really had to watch him die?"
"Yeah, it was probably the worst thing that's ever happened to me," I admitted. "And when I say that, it sounds like I must be pretty damn stupid to be living there now."
"I don't think you're stupid, Samantha. I think you're incredibly resilient to have not let one traumatic experience ruin a place that clearly means a lot to you.
She countered earnestly.
I mean, I love this house, but if something like that happened here, I don't know if I'd be strong enough to stay. You're a remarkable woman, Samantha.
I nodded half-heartedly, utterly unconvinced of that. The picture on your front door of Eve, it looks almost exactly like the portrait of Persephone in my mausoleum. I finally managed to bring up. When I saw that, I thought that it couldn't be a coincidence. You've spoken with spirits yourself, haven't you?
I have, including ones that have claimed to have visited both the underworld and Summerland.
She nodded.
I also have visions on occasion. I've seen the maiden goddess ruling as queen of the underworld, and the spirits confirmed this for me. It makes sense, truthfully. The maiden embodies all aspects of women's youth, including the need for independence from our mothers and to forge our own identities apart from them. The myth of Persephone is much more palpable to me in that light. She's a woman of extremely assertive agency, and bastardizations of the myth that reduce her to something pretty for Hades and Demeter to fight over were only meant to take that agency from her.
I see. Everything I've read about her in the Ancestors' Journal so far has made it very clear that she does not want for power, I agreed. Though, considering what I'm planning on doing, that's a little more intimidating than inspiring.
And you are sure that's what you want to do? Journey to the underworld to petition Persephone, to pardon a man you barely knew?
I nodded somberly, not really expecting her to understand. I knew him well enough to consider him a friend, and my interactions with him, brief though they were, ended up changing my entire life trajectory and worldview. He had a significant impact on my life, and it troubles me deeply that he suffered, died, and is now trapped in Hades for all eternity because of a deal made well over a century before he was even born. I figure if a mortal convinced Persephone to do this, a mortal can convince her to undo it, and no one else is going to argue for my friend's freedom but me. This is something I have to do, not just for him, but for me, because I can't justify abandoning one of the few people I felt a connection with when they need me the most. Genevieve smiled, anxiously biting her knuckle.
I really admire your conviction, even if I don't completely understand it. I'm more than willing to help you. Tell me about your attempts to astral project so far.
I start by meditating for at least 20 minutes. Then once I'm fairly relaxed, I visualize a glowing astral body rising up from my physical body, over and over until I actually start to feel myself floating, and the vibrations of the astral plane, I explained. And then I always chicken out.
That's perfectly understandable. Your technique sounds good, though, and I think that just having a guide with you could help you finally cross that threshold. Entheogens are also helpful, both for calming the mind and enhancing your clairvoyance. I microdose on mushrooms and have a special strain of cannabis called Delphi Dream to help get into the right headspace. Binaural music and soothing incense are good too, of course.
I'm willing to try all of that. I nodded eagerly. We can do all that here in your meditation studio?
We could, but I think it would be best to do it in your cemetery. It's familiar to you, where you're comfortable and close to the underworld portal. You're also used to trying with a weakened veil. I'd also like to see this place for myself. It's amazing to think that I've been so close to an astral nexus all these years and had no idea, though I guess they're not supposed to be easy to find.
She halted when she noticed I was staring at her. You called it a cemetery. I smiled softly.
Isn't that what you said it was?
She asked, confused. I did, but no one else I've ever told about it has been able to remember that for more than a moment, I explained. I've even had my parents out there, and they can't remember it's a cemetery. I brought my hand to my mouth, trying to stifle tears. I'm sorry. This whole thing has been weighing on me more than I've realized. And it's such a relief to finally be able to really talk about it to somebody. And I'm so sorry to burden you with all of this. I trailed off into sobs, and Genevieve placed her arm around me consolingly.
Samantha, you're not burdening me with anything. I've been practicing astral projection for years, but I've never been able to leave the physical plane. For years I've been searching for a way to visit the underworld or Summerland and see my goddess in person, and then you walk through my front door and tell me you've been living in an astral nexus for the past 4 months. Meeting you has been the best thing to happen to me in a very long time.
Same, I murmured meekly. God, I'm sorry. I'm not great at this. And by this I meant whatever you mean or meant. Or, I don't want to misread you, because I do that sometimes, and make things awkward. But if I pretend not to notice and I wasn't misreading you, then you might get offended, and things still get awkward, and…
Samantha.
She interrupted as politely as anyone possibly could, gently sweeping back my hair.
Would you like to spend the night with me?
I hesitated for just a moment. I'd never slept with someone I had just met before, and I didn't really think of myself as the kind of person who did that. But she was the only other witch I had ever met, the only person who could help me and I could confide in, the only kindred spirit who could truly understand what I was going through. And she was so beautiful. I leaned in and kissed her, and I'm not actually penning an erotica here, so those are all the sexy details you're going to get about that. Sorry. I will share an unsexy detail with you, though. I cried again at one point. I hadn't had physical relations for a few years, and I guess I was in denial about how starved for affection I was. It's just that all of my previous relationships, with women or men, had never really amounted to much, and I had just accepted that I didn't pair well with anyone. But Evie and I, we just clicked. I was smitten. In the morning, she made me breakfast with plant protein eggs and soy bacon, and even though I had never really been able to get into vegan food before, just the fact that she cooked them for me made them wonderful. We packed up everything we would need, and once her shop girl was in, we set off for the cemetery. It was a beautiful, early spring morning, just above freezing. Crisp, clean air filled with the singing of the newly returned birds. Lingering patches of snow and creeks and ditches flowing freely with the winter runoff.
I don't get out of the city as much as I should,
Genevieve remarked as we drove down Heroic Mile Road, admiring the majestic forest around us.
I do most of my outdoor rituals in Euphemia Park, but these woods, they have a primeval, nearly pristine feel to them, like the horned god still runs wild in them, a remnant of the once great forest our ancestors destroyed. It's sublime. Why are you slowing down?
The cemetery's just up ahead, I said, pointing right. Do you see it? Look just past the tree line. She leaned forward and squinted, but shook her head.
I just see trees. Maybe a bit sparser here than before, but that's all I notice,
she replied, sounding a little disappointed. I turned onto the looped path, and as soon as we passed under the arch, her face lit up in wonder. You feel it, right? Of course you do, I smiled.
I've never been anywhere the veil was this thin before,
she gasped.
This really is an astral nexus, a conduit between the astral and physical planes, sacred to the great goddess. And I couldn't see it. Does that mean I'm not worthy to be here?
Absolutely not, I said resolutely. I wasn't sure if clairvoyance was all that was required or if there was something more. But even if there is, it's not about worthiness. I'm sure of that. The occultist that made this place sure as hell wasn't worthy. Honestly, I think it was just my fascination with cemeteries combined with my latent clairvoyance that let me see this place. I'm not special, just weird. I brought the car to a stop right in front of my trailer. And this has been my house for the past 4 months, I said. I know it's not even 1/10 the size of your beautiful home, but I find the ample yard space more than makes up for it.
Oh my God, it's a tiny house. You have a tiny house. I love it.
She screamed, leaping out of the car and excitedly running laps around my trailer.
Is it completely solar powered?
Yep. I've got 5 275-watt panels all up on my roof and 12 kilowatt hours of power storage, I explained, as I got out of the car and shut both our doors. I hooked up an electric pump to the well for water, which I did have tested. And I keep a rain barrel for backup.
What about your sewage?
I use a compost toilet, so I don't have any black water. And all my soap is biodegradable, so my gray water is safe to just dump. I'm also going to plant a vegetable garden soon. And I'm going to build some cold frames and maybe even a small greenhouse so that I can garden next winter. I'm really trying to embrace a homesteading lifestyle and become as self-sufficient as possible.
You are amazing. Look at this thing. You closed in your awning with a mesh net so you have an outdoor room and... is that a hot tub?
Just a little one. There's no room for a tub in the trailer, and I like to take baths.
You did not do this place justice when you described it to me.
She claimed.
This isn't squatting. This is glamping. You are the most glamorous hedge witch in the history of hedge witches.
She was the first person to ever call me a hedge witch. I liked it. Go get set up. I have to feed my cat before we start. I'll be with you in a minute, I instructed. When I stepped into my trailer, I was greeted by the irritated meowing of my tabby. Moxley. I know. I didn't come back last night and you're hungry. I'm so sorry. I apologized as I set to work filling up a bowl of food. I have a good excuse though. I met someone wonderful. Someone kind and magic and smart and beautiful and very, very good. With her fingers. I placed the bowl in front of him and gently scratched his head as he gobbled it up. She's going to help me with my astral projection today. I'm really excited about it. Though we could be doing almost anything together, and I'd be really excited about it. Can I tell you a secret, Moxley? I'm already hoping she's going to be your new mommy. I know I said I didn't want other people out here, but I think she might deserve an exemption. You can meet her in a little bit. But right now, we've got important witch stuff to do. I'll be back later. I kissed him on the head and went out to join Genevieve in the cemetery. She was already sitting in the lotus position on the blanket she'd brought. The incense had been burned. Her music was playing on my Bluetooth speaker, and she was once again preparing her bong.
Has that microdose hit you yet?
I think so. Colors are more saturated, and all my senses, including my clairvoyance, feel sharper, I replied.
Good. Entheogens really do make all the difference for first-timers. The Delphi dream will definitely make it easier to astral project, but it's right at your limit for THC.
She cautioned.
Do you want to try it?
Yes, I think it will be okay. I feel pretty safe here. And with you, I said shyly, sitting down across from her. She smiled and passed me the bong. I took a few small hits off it, and it was definitely unusual. I felt the usual calmness and euphoria I would have expected from a hybrid strain, but there was no risk of stray anxious thoughts snowballing into a panic attack. I was instead shifted into an altered state of consciousness, where my thinking was much more intuitive than my usual anxious overanalyzing. My thoughts flowed like water, and I merely watched as a detached observer. This, combined with the fact that my clairvoyance was now noticeably stronger, making it almost effortless to focus on spiritual manners. Lulled by the music and Genevieve's guiding voice, I soon entered a deep state of meditation. At Genevieve's instruction, I envisioned my astral body rising upwards. I felt myself levitating almost immediately, along with the higher frequency vibrations of the astral plane. This time, though, I felt no fear, and I didn't stop. I just allowed it to happen.
Samantha, open your eyes,
I heard Genevieve say. I obediently complied, and to my amazement, saw her literally radiant form floating proudly in the air. She was now as nude as the image on her shop's logo, her flowing hair draped over her chest and a soft light emanating from her womanhood, simultaneously obscuring it while framing it as something profoundly sacred. In shock, I looked down at myself to see my glowing form hovering over my physical body. To my relief, I wasn't nude, but dressed in an approximation of what my real body was wearing. Jeans, a red hoodie, and green thermal vest. Presumably because that's what I'd been imagining. I could still feel my body. I wasn't free of it, just projecting my consciousness outwards. Since my real eyes were closed, I could only see with my clairvoyance. The physical world now seemed dark and ghostly, seen through a fog and heard underwater. Only astral bodies, like myself and Genevieve, appeared bright and distinct and fully real. "Thank you," I whispered softly, too stunned by my success to be excited by it.
Congratulations, Samantha. You are now officially an astral projector.
She cheered.
Do you want to just fly around for a bit? It's fine if you do. That's what most people do their first time. It's really cool.
No. I shook my head vigorously. I've been trying to do this for months. I can't waste this opportunity. I need to seek an audience with Persephone. I turned my attention towards the rear archway, the astral portal to the underworld, and I was effortlessly whisked towards it. On the astral plane, it bore little resemblance to its physical form. It was instead a colossal structure of carved onyx, its pillars made of miserable skeletal figures, eyes glowing and mouths agape, crushed beneath the weight of Hades and Persephone on their thrones. The portal itself was occluded with thick white fog, but it emanated a devastating sense of dread and despair, and I could hear the distant, anguished wails of the dead on the other side. And it was cold, a coldness that represented a dearth of energy and life. "You, might want to put on something warmer," I said half-jokingly. She grabbed my hand, and an invigorating warmth spread from her astral form and into mine.
These aren't our physical bodies, and that's not physical cold. We need astral energy to keep us warm, and I have plenty of that,
she assured me.
Remember that we can't get trapped down there. We're still bound to our bodies, and all we have to do to end this is open our eyes. The only way to be separated from your body without dying is to achieve complete detachment from earthly desires. And I love weed, wine, and women too much to be in any danger of that. Funny that that's what's going to keep me out of hell.
She paused, noticing that I was staring up in utter horror at the idols of the gods who had turned my life upside down, whose domain I now dared to trespass in.
Samantha, I won't think any less of you if you don't want to do this,
she promised. I shook my head, tears flowing down my cheeks. "I can't give up now," I said adamantly, more to myself than to her. "If we get separated, we'll both wake up immediately. Agreed?"
Agreed.
She nodded.
Whenever you're ready, sister.
I tightened my grip upon her hand, its warmth consoling me, reminding me that I wasn't walking into Hades alone, as I had thought I would, that I had the support and guidance of a wise and powerful witch, that I wasn't just some lone recluse daring to meddle in matters beyond her ken. With her by my side, I could do this. I inhaled deeply of the astral ether, and, shoving all fear and doubt from my mind, Genevieve and I stepped through the portal to the underworld. Well, my friends, we've reached the end of tonight's chilling tale, Hallowed Ground, Part 4 by the talented The Vespers Bell. I hope you've enjoyed our descent into darkness, and that you'll carry a piece of the Fear File Chronicles with you as you drift into uneasy dreams. If our story left you shivering and shaking, don't forget to like this video, share it with others who crave a good scare, and subscribe to the Fear File Chronicles for more haunting horrors. Remember to hit the bell notification so you're always among the first to know when a new nightmare awaits. As always, we appreciate your support and would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Sharing your fears and frights with us truly means a lot, so don't be shy to engage with our sinister community. Until next time, remember to embrace the darkness, for it is within the shadows that our most terrifying stories are born. Good night, and stay scared.